She's a nationally renowned holistic health coach and natural foods chef. She was named one of the top 100 most influential health and fitness experts of 2012 by Greatest.com. She is also a recipient of the Natural Gourmet Institute's Award for Excellence in Health Supportive Education and a Health Leadership Award from the Institute for Integrative Nutrition. Since 1999, she has been teaching individuals and health practitioners how to harness the body's own preventative and healing powers. Andrea has authored several books, including Happy Healthy Thyroid, The Essential Steps to Healing Naturally, Health is Wealth, Make a Delicious Investment in You, and The Whole Truth, The Eating and Recipe Guide. So Andrea, please come on up here, give her a warm welcome.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for coming out to the Take Back Your Health conference. I'm really excited to see all of your beautiful faces here. And before we get started, I'm actually going to just make sure that we're all here, literally. Like I can see you, and I know that you can see me, but your mind may be off on Facebook or thinking about what Trump did or Hillary, right, or something, right, or the latest and greatest news that's popping up. So I just want to make sure that we're all literally here, because the more present that you are, the more you'll be able to digest and absorb the information I'm going to share with you. Okay, so it's really easy to get present. First thing I want you to do is just feel your butt in the chair. Now, some of you can feel more butt than others, and that's okay. And then feel your back in the chair. And then feel your feet and wiggle your little toes around. Give them some love. And then just take your hands and place them on your lower belly, right below your belly button, your hara in Japanese medicine, H-A-R-A, not to be confused with your horror, or H-O-R-R-O-R, as in Halloween tomorrow. And we're just going to try and breathe into this area. And just take 5 little breaths. So we're going to breathe in and exhale. Breathe in, exhale. Breathe in, exhale, and just keep breathing. Some of you may notice that the breath stays up in your chest. That's habitual. It's a scared breath, actually, not fully coming into your body. And just take 2 more breaths and exhale. Deep breath in and exhale. And then once again, feel your little toes in your shoes. Feel your back up against the chair. Feel your butt. And then open your eyes and look to the person to the right of you. And look at the person on the other side. That's your community, right, of health and wellness people. So now that we're all here in many levels, right, the physical, the emotional, the energetic, now that we're all here at the Take Back Your Health conference, right, this is a very exciting place to be, and Robin puts it on every year, because this is where the most awesome, influential, like-minded, and modest people come to learn about health and wellness and what's the latest and greatest information that you can apply to heal your body. So I personally am a firm believer that human beings have a great capacity to heal. We all have it inside of us. We're perfect. We're perfectly designed. And when we give our body what it needs, it shows up for us. It starts to digest. We start to have more energy. We start to get rid of stuff that we don't need, right? We start to get rid of the waste. So all of this can happen, but we need the right ingredients. So I'll give you a personal example. About 20 years ago, I was diagnosed with thyroid disease, and I had a large goiter and hyperthyroidism. And the doctors had recommended radioactive iodine to destroy my thyroid, and then be on medication for the rest of my life. And I said, I know that I'm really a crappy eater, and I know that I'm staying up all night long and drinking and partying and smoking. I said, I need to change my diet and my lifestyle. And my doctor said, your diet and your lifestyle have nothing to do with your disease. And I said, okay, I get that you get that, but I'm going to try it anyway. So I did. I changed my diet and my lifestyle, and little by little, my health started getting better, right? My energy started increasing. My goiter disappeared. My thyroid normalized, right? It took about 2 years, but it happened. So healing does not happen overnight, right? You're not going to go and have 1 cup of magical soup or 1 little shot of some special elixir, and you'd be like, yes, I'm healed. I healed everything, right? It takes time. It takes patience. It takes self-care, self-love, and it takes the right ingredients. And I'm going to share some of those ingredients with you today. Now, the ingredients that I'm going to be sharing are not exotic. They're not the ingredients that grows on the berry bush deep in the Andean swamps, right, camu. And it's not the prized turnip that grows at the top of the Peruvian highlands. Wondering what that is? Maca. Bet you didn't know it was a turnip. Right? It's not an exotic ingredient that I'm going to be talking about. I'm actually going to be talking about things that can be found in your very own kitchen, and it's probably in your kitchen right now. And these are culinary herbs. And they've been used for thousands of years medicinally. And we kind of just pushed them off to the side. And we're like, oh, we need the greatest next acai berry and all this stuff, right? Which are all great. Everything's great. But I want to emphasize that you have medicine right in your very own kitchen. And what the medicine in your kitchen does anybody know? It enhances the digestion of your food. Right? So when we don't have good digestion, what happens? Sickness comes, can't process food properly, get constipated. I've been sitting here for 48 hours, right? My little chair out there, my little table. Almost every single person has come by and said, I got these digestive problems. I'm not digesting my food. I got inflammation in my intestines, right? And this poor gal had an entire 20-foot tapeworm, right, in the intestines. So we have to be very conscious of nourishing and supporting our digestive system, and these herbs that I'm going to be talking about today have been around for thousands of years for a reason, and we're going to talk about that. Okay, so this is some of the history of culinary herbs. In ancient Egypt, coriander, fennel, juniper, cumin, garlic, and thyme were classified as health-promoting, and workers on the Great Pyramids regularly consumed garlic for strength and vitality. Right? That's how they built those pyramids, on garlic power. Hippocrates, the father of modern medicine, wrote about the medicinal uses of thyme, coriander, cinnamon, mint, and marjoram. All of these you could find in your kitchen or in somebody's backyard. The medical writings of the Charaka, first he was a first-century medical scholar from India, referenced cinnamon, cardamom, cloves, ginger, turmeric, and pepper for healing purposes. Now, the gal that was just on before me, she mentioned a lot of these, right? And she, like I said, had a 20-foot tapeworm. Holy crap. King Charlemagne, the medieval emperor, installed a culinary herb garden at the castle, and it included anise, fennel, fenugreek, sage, thyme, and parsley. And then, according to ancient food lore, Confucius would eat no meal that did not contain a little ginger. And we'll discuss why as we go through this stuff, but that was pretty smart. Ancient practitioners of Taoism used cooking for the pursuit of health. Their recipes included leaves, roots, stems, flowers, seeds, bark, and fungi. So they, in Taoism, they were looking for health because when the body was in a state of health, there was a greater connection to the entire universe. Right? If they weren't suffering and aching and having poor digestion and not feeling good, then they could be a conduit for knowledge, for inspiration, for all that stuff. So that's why cooking was so important for them. So these are culinary herbs and spices. Herbs, these are the leafy portions of the plant. right? Examples include rosemary, thyme, mint, basil, dill, nettle, cilantro, and tarragon. And then the spices are harvested from the other parts of the plant. Roots, berries, seeds, flower buds, and bark. So cinnamon is a great example, bark. Garlic is a rhizome, it's a root. Ginger is a rhizome. Nutmeg is a seed. Capers and cloves are flower buds. And of course, peppercorns are berries. Right? So all from a little plant, a little culinary plant. So these are some of the common culinary herbs and spices. And how many of you guys are using these? That's awesome. We can all just go order a pizza right now. I don't even have to continue talking. But we're going to cover 10 of these, because they all have medicinal properties that are really great. So we're going to cover these 10 today: thyme, rosemary, sage, mint, oregano, garlic, ginger, parsley, cinnamon, and cayenne. And we're going to start with thyme. And this amazing herb, right? People think, oh, I put it into my stock. Right? Has anybody ever used it on something other than a stock or a chicken or vegetables? See, yes. Perfect. So thyme is carminative. It helps to expel gas, which is always a nice benefit, right? Except not when you're sitting at the table with the family. You'd like to expel it afterwards. Antimicrobial, an expectorant, astringent, anthelmintic, expels worms and parasites. So last week, I had a little cough. And what did I do? Exactly what this gal said. I took 2 tablespoons of fresh thyme, I put it into an infusion of hot water, and I let it steep for about 10 minutes, and then put in a little bit of lemon and honey. And then what happened to my cough? Right. So it's an expectorant, right? It enhances the bronchial expulsion of the mucus. Right? So the mucus is there for a reason, right? It's going to some inflammation or some bacteria or some virus or some pathogen that entered my body, and the thyme helps to expel that, right? It expels the mucus. Mucus is not a bad thing. The mucus is there for a reason, to curb inflammation, right? It also, a lot of times we get mucus, why? Does anybody know? That you're like, that's why we hired you. Why are you asking us? Yes, inflammation. Somebody said inflammation here. When your immune system is sending out the white blood cells and the killer cells, right, you're going to have all of this converging upon the area that is inflamed or the area that has been breached, right? And then you're going to have a buildup of the white blood cells, and they need to be expelled, right? The dead cells, the dead bacteria, they need to be expelled. So that's what that mucus is. And when it turns yellow, it means that there is some heat going on. And when it turns green, you have an infection. And that's all the infection coming out. So it's also used as a gargle for laryngitis and tonsillitis. Right? There's lots of reasons why you can use thyme. The ancient Romans used it to treat coughs, improve digestion, and expel worms. Right? So a lot of people, and I'm telling you, like I said, everybody that came by my desk was like, I'm suffering with digestive this and digestive that. We need to actually put more herbs in our food. But the herbs that have been around for a really long time. You can certainly use, the most expensive herb that anybody's got on the market, right? But you can also use the stuff that's probably growing in your backyard or on your windowsill, right? So how many people have a little windowsill where they have thyme growing or parsley or something like that? Oregano, antiseptic, antibiotic, antifungal, carminative, expectorant, diaphoretic, and diuretic, right? So we all know the antibiotic, right? Everybody's taking like oregano oils right now, right? Has anybody ever taken a piece of oregano and put it in their mouth and chewed it? You have? Oh, that's right. You came to my other class. How was that experience for you? Awful. What happened? Very hot and spicy, very strong. So we have to be very careful ingesting the essential oils. Very careful. So I've seen people that are ingesting essential oils and they're wiping out all of their bacteria. We need bacteria. We need it to digest our food. So when you're getting the oregano with the leaf, with the fiber, with the other constituents, it's much more gentle on the digestive system. So this is something to be conscious of, because I see people all the time dropping essential oils right into their mouth. You know, you have to be careful with that stuff. It's very spicy. It's very hot. It's very antiseptic. It's very antibacterial. So it's also an diaphoretic, means it opens up the pores and allows a person to sweat, and diuretic, which helps you go to the bathroom, urinate. So the ancient Greeks considered it a sign of happiness if oregano grew on the grave of a loved one. Right? It improves digestion, kills intestinal worms, and treats bronchial membranes. Traditionally used in TCM, that's traditional Chinese medicine, to treat gastrointestinal and respiratory conditions. And of course, it complements Italian, Greek, and Latin cuisines. And it warms the blood and lifts the spirits. So that same spicy hot that you felt is the same thing that's going on in here. Right? So one of the things that you do not want when you are healing any condition is you do not want a cold digestive system. A cold digestive system is going to be the right environment for bugs and viruses and pathogens. Right? Because they don't actually like the heat. They don't want hot stuff. It's one of the reasons when you go to India and the food is very, very spicy. Right? It helps to warm the body, open the pores, but it's also killing a lot of the bugs. Sage. Right? Everybody, what do you think about when you think of sage? Thanksgiving, once a year. Right, sage. We put it into the dressing. We put it into the stuffing. It's naturally carminative, helps to expel gas. Antispasmodic, which means it helps to relax the intestines. It's antimicrobial. It's astringent, toning and tightening. And it's also anti-inflammatory. So it helps to tamper down that inflammation. So due to its strong antimicrobial properties, sage was traditionally added to meat, sausages, and as a preservative. So one of the reasons why we add it into the stuffing is because traditionally stuffing was like bread with sausage, right? So in medieval times, sage was added to ale to toast good health. That's my kind of beer. And then classic remedy for inflammation of the mouth, throat, and the tonsils. It decreases sweating. So whenever my clients, they have menopause, and they're like, I'm sweating, I'm up all night, I'm sweating, I tell them, okay, take a whole bunch of sage, put it into hot water, let it sit overnight, and just drink it during the day. It takes away the sweating. Right? This is medicine right in your kitchen. Sage infusion, like I said, pour it over hot water and steep it overnight. How many people have sage in their kitchen? How often do you use it? Thanksgiving. We're going to use it in 2 weeks. You what? Oh, she's Puerto Rican. Oh, that's great. Yes. It's also, it has that little bit of heat in it. Yeah, it's a good one. It's great, actually. Rosemary. Well, actually, it's a great question, and we're going to open up for questions. But she said, does it have the same properties once you've dried it? And when you dry it, it starts to lose some of those volatile oils, right? So you can certainly dry it, and it's excellent. But it's stronger when it's fresh. And in the wintertime, definitely use dried rosemary, or use dried herbs. Does anybody have a garden? What are the ones that last the longest, the herbs that last the longest? Right into like November, December. Rosemary, thyme, and sage, right? So these should be used in the wintertime. So I'm going to pass this around. And I want you guys to smell it. And I'm going to pass some to the other side as well. Don't worry. You guys are going to get saged. You're going to get rosemaried. You can smell it, right? And it's also sticky, right? So it's very piney and resiny. And we'll pass some to you, and you guys can have some over there. Right? Resiny. It's got almost like a pine resin. So when, right, you can smell that. Even in the back, you probably haven't even gotten it yet. You may be smelling it, right? Aromatic. This is an aromatic herb. So all of the aromatic herbs, one of the things that they do is that they stimulate your memory. They stimulate memory. So right now they're doing studies on rosemary, and it's being it increases blood flow to the heart and to the brain. So in the German pharmacopoeia, they use rosemary steeped in oil and they rub it onto the chest. And it brings circulation to the heart. So when, for those of you who stop by the table, you see my little sister there. She's like she's taking all the orders. And I said, oh yeah, the talk that I'm doing is about herbs. And she told her friend who goes to Italy all the time. And her friend said, oh my gosh, in Italy, he goes, they're having rosemary at every meal. And I can have a conversation with the 90-year-olds and 100-year-olds, and they have full faculty. And they say it's the rosemary, right? There you go, rosemary, right? So is everybody, you can feel this, right? That stickiness, and you can smell it. Aromatic herbs. So I'm passing this around because this is great for memory, and I want you guys to remember to use this. It's naturally carminative, antispasmodic, antidepressant, antimicrobial. It's an emmenagogue, which stimulates blood flow in the pelvic area. So for those gals, sorry guys, I'm going to go there. For those gals who are having trouble with your period, have lots of rosemary because it's bringing warmth and bringing blood to the pelvis, right? So that actually might be also a good thing for the men as well, because blood creates things. It's also rubefacient, which causes dilation of the capillaries and increases circulation, which is good for both men and women, right? Traditionally rubbed on meat for both flavor and to delay spoilage, and it has a calming effect on digestion because it's antispasmodic, right? So it relaxes the digestive system. So somebody had stopped by my table the other day, and she was telling me she has Hashimoto's and all this stuff going on, and I said, okay, you got to relax when you eat. And she goes, oh. Yeah, you're right. If we don't relax when we eat, and if our body's not relaxed when we eat, what happens? We don't digest. We don't digest food, right? So there's rest and digest and fight or flight. So sympathetic nervous system is fight or flight. Gotta go, gotta run, right? Gotta get out of here. Lion's chasing me. And then there's rest and digest. And rest and digest is where digestion happens. This is parasympathetic nervous system. It's where healing happens. So in our modern world today, how often are we on parasympathetic nervous system? Not often. Got to get up. Bell rings. We got to go rush through breakfast or get breakfast on the run, get to the office, go to the office, or sit down in front of the computer. I don't have time for lunch. Yeah, I hear this from everybody. I don't have time for lunch. When did that happen? When did that become the norm? No, people don't have time for lunch. That has got to change. That's got to change. Dinner time, this one's in that room, that one's over there. No, family's not sitting together anymore. Right? So we have to relax. And using herbs that are antispasmodic helps us relax. They help us relax. I mean, even just smelling this helps you relax. So if you're not relaxed, you won't be able to digest. You won't process properly. Okay. You could steep it in oil or vinegar and use it to flavor foods, but definitely start to get this one into your diet. Mint, peppermint. And that also includes spearmint. Carminative, anti-inflammatory, antispasmodic, diaphoretic, antiemetic. Prevents vomiting, just in case you're at your in-laws' house and the mommy makes something that you don't particularly like. Ask for a mint tea. Nervine, right, again, helps to relax the nervous system and antimicrobial. So traditionally, after dinner, what were people offered? Mint tea. A mint tea, it really helps to relax the entire nervous system. When this is, when someone, you ever see a little kid who's really excited and all, right? So we want to keep the food in here where it can do the good, right? So a little cup of mint tea, especially if you're tense, right? It also helps to cool liver fire. And if the liver is too hot, then of course the digestion is going to be affected. So for those of you, and I don't have chamomile on here, for those of you that have a really cold digestive fire, chamomile is actually better than mint, because chamomile is more warming, right? Where mint is a little bit cooling, it cools the fire here, it's anti-inflammatory, right? It has much more cooling properties. But if you already have a cold digestive fire, because you've had smoothies all day long, right, running. Somebody just said to me, who was it? I think it was that little cutie pie over there. I don't have time for breakfast in the morning. How about this smoothie? What if I have a little smoothie? And that's not uncommon. Everyone that I meet is just having a smoothie in the morning. Does anybody know how bad that is for the digestive system? Okay, so I'll tell you. How much time do I have? Let's see. All right, we got a half an hour. So let's talk digestion. Where does digestion begin? In the mouth. So what happens when you drink a smoothie? You bypass the mouth. Right? You bypass the mouth. So the food is supposed to be masticated and mixed with the saliva and the enzymes and everything that helps us process it. So when we're drinking our proteins and we're drinking our carbohydrates and we're drinking all this stuff, we're bypassing all of the enzymes that help us to process that. So it goes into the stomach, and the stomach's like, holy crap, what am I going to do with all this? So what happens? Increases stomach acid immediately. I got to digest this. I got to process this. So then they get heartburn. I don't know why I'm getting this heartburn all the time. I'm just having a smoothie. Why am I getting? I'm just eating all this green smoothie stuff, right? So we have to actually start the digestive process here so that we can absorb here. And we absorb here. Then we start to have more energy. We feel better. It doesn't mean you can never have a smoothie in the morning. I'm not the anti-smoothie girl. Right? I like a good smoothie, especially in the summertime, usually around lunch. Do you want to know why around lunch? What? The heat of the day, that's right. Not only is it the hottest time of the day, but it's also the time when the body, the physical body, is most active. So that means that I'm going to be running hotter, and I'll be able to process a cold smoothie much better. But when you're sleeping, and you wake up in the morning, does anybody know what happens when you're sleeping at night to your body temperature? Yo, you guys are so smart. I love you already. Yes, your temperature drops. So then your temperature drops, you wake up. Traditional food in the morning was something warm. Something warm, porridge, Goldilocks and the Three Bears, right? Porridge. Porridge with cinnamon. We'll talk about cinnamon. Right? It helps to warm up the system instead of cool it down again. Mint, by the way, there are many different types of mints. Many different types of mint. There's the lemon balm, which is fantastic for anybody who's really highly stressed out. If you're highly stressed out, again, you're in sympathetic nervous system, you're not going to digest your food. Without good digestion, you won't be able to heal. Right? We have to really support the digestive system. So lemon balm is one of my favorites, as well as regular mint, but there's also catnip. Has anybody tried catnip? I know we give it to our cats. Right? Does anybody see what happens to the cats? Yeah, they're like, row, 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 I love the catnip, I love it. And then they go, yeah. Yeah, it's a cat's life. Right? They get so relaxed afterward. They just kind of go there into the corner and lay down upside down. Right? That's what I want you guys to do. Have some catnip, get really excited, and then lay down in the corner. So all of the mints are excellent for relaxing the muscles of the digestive system, to relax so you can actually process. Combats flatulence, colic, stimulates flow of bile and digestive juices. So mints are really great. Eases anxiety and tension. Ginger, the Buddha. The Buddha said he would eat no meal if it didn't have a little piece of ginger in it. So what does ginger do? Anybody know what ginger does? Warm? Yes, it is warming, right? So it brings digestive fire. It really stokes that digestive fire. So again, without the digestive fire, and this is in cultures across the board, right? If there's a cold digestive system, you're not going to digest. You'll have malabsorption, poor digestion, probably constipation, or the other, diarrhea, right? Because nothing's really working. So we need to have that digestive fire. So ginger is stimulant, carminative, antispasmodic, rubefacient, diaphoretic, and it's an emmenagogue. Traditionally known as a remedy for digestive problems, as well as used for motion sickness and nausea. Pregnant women always go for like ginger tea, ginger stuff. Unless their body is too hot, then they'll be like, don't put any ginger near me, because they know. They're very smart. It's like when women are pregnant, their senses are enhanced to the max, right? They could smell something from like a mile away and say, oh, that's not the right thing for me. And it's because they're building an entire human being here, right? They're building a whole, so they're very in tune with what they need. So they're always reaching out intuitively to what they need to build that little person. And sometimes they're reaching out for ginger tea, to help calm that nausea. Stimulates peripheral circulation, right? Promotes perspiration. Studies have shown ginger also reduces platelet aggregation and inhibits rheumatoid arthritis. Right? So this is a little ginger, that's a little like a ginger soda I made with my nephew, right? Grated ginger, fresh. We put some honey in there. We put some lemon juice. And then he tasted it. He was like, oh, my God, this is the best thing ever. At the time, he was drinking, like, Muggs root beer. And I was like, no, let's make something. I promise you're going to like it. He's like, oh, Aunt Fanny, come on. And he's grating the ginger. He's like, what are you kidding me? And then he tasted it. He was like, wow, this is awesome. Right? So even kids know when they start to get real food, it starts to taste really good. Right? So Muggs is, I'm not down on Muggs. I can't read half the ingredients that are on the little container. Right? So that's always a problem. If you can't read it, you probably can't digest it. Right? Cinnamon, antiseptic, anti-clotting, antimicrobial, circulatory stimulant, diaphoretic, and it regulates glucose metabolism. So let me tell you about this fun client that I had. She came in, and she was trying to lose weight, and she was pre-diabetic. And we're going over her diet and stuff, and she goes, I got to tell you, she goes, there's this one problem that I have. She goes, at night, I'm so hot, I'm ripping the covers off. My husband, he won't lay next to me in the bed because I'm just full of this heat. And she goes, I'm beyond menopause, so I don't know where this heat is coming from. And I said, okay, let's go over your diet. What are you having for breakfast? She goes, well, as I told you, I'm pre-diabetic. So I have oatmeal, and I put cinnamon in it. And then I have a cup of tea, and I put cinnamon in it. And then at lunchtime, I'll have my salad, and I'll have another cinnamon tea. And then at nighttime, I'll have something, and I'll put cinnamon in it. And I'm like, okay, what is cinnamon? Has anybody ever put cinnamon on your tongue? It's hot. It's very, very hot. So she was, and this happens all the time. People will read something on the internet, or they get one piece of information, and they start to go crazy with it. And that's what she was doing, cinnamon in the morning twice, and cinnamon at lunch, and cinnamon at dinner. And at nighttime, her body was saying, oh, my God, I have so much heat in here. Right? That's what it was coming out. She could not go to sleep at night. She was on fire, literally. And all she had to do was take some of the cinnamon out. And by the way, they just had a study that was done about diabetics. Did anybody see that study? What they're telling diabetics now about just stand up every half an hour? Just stand up every half an hour and move. That's it. So what does that say about diabetes? Right? It's lifestyle. Of course, it doesn't help if you stand up and you go and you get the donuts. Right? But just literally stand up and just walk. Right? And then you can sit back down. So everybody's going crazy with cinnamon, but cinnamon is very heating. So use it, but again, use it wisely. Cinnamon, traditionally in Chinese medicine, is a kidney yang heater. Right? It brings heat to the kidneys, and we need that heat. But we can't have too much of it, right? Because especially like this poor gal, the kidney element is nourished in the night. So her kidney element was saying, oh, my God, I'm so hot. Parsley. I just had a little parsley this morning. It's a natural diuretic, emmenagogue, carminative. It eases gas, of course. Antispasmodic, expectorant, and hypotensive. So that means it lowers blood pressure. So anytime that you go out to eat, there generally is a little piece of parsley on the side of the plate. And then people will finish the meal, and the little piece of parsley will still be there. Right? It doesn't do any good that way. We actually have to eat it. We just can't look at it. So it's used in the traditional Passover meal to represent new beginnings. Right? To represent new beginnings. And it's interesting because in Chinese medicine, parsley helps to flush the kidney element. Right? It helps to get rid of stones. It helps to nourish the kidneys. And then that helps to support the liver, which is new beginnings. Right? So all of our organ systems are working together. They're not separate. This one's supporting this one's supporting this one, right? We're all connected, like that little song that we all learned in the kindergarten. Right? The ankle bone's connected to the thigh bone, and this bone's connected to that bone. Right? Everything is connected. But in, unfortunately, modern medicine, everything is separate. Right? Everything is separate. So you have heart disease, heart doctor. Meanwhile, a lot of times it's liver heat that's causing the heart to go out of balance. So we have to start to use some of these foods to help balance our digestive system. Balance and nourish our digestive system, and that helps to support all of the organs. Right? Because your blood, right, that's the food that you eat, is becoming your blood, and your blood is feeding all of your organs. So this is something to keep in mind. It also is rich in vitamin C. So I had another gal the other day. I think she had Crohn's colitis. I forget what it was. But she's not eating any raw foods at all, right? Which is good because she can't process them. She can't break down the cellulose fiber in the vegetables especially. But you can't only eat cooked foods. Just like you can't only eat raw foods. There has to be a balance. So when you have everything cooked, what's a traditional thing that goes onto the food after cooking? Something raw, right? A little bit of parsley, a little bit of scallions, right? That's rich in vitamin C because what kills the vitamin C is heat. Right? So put a little bit of something on there. Put a little parsley, a little something, chives. Oh gosh, chives. I was just in the bathroom. Where's that gal? She said, I always have my best conversations in the bathroom. All the time. So this gal said to me, she goes, oh, you're talking about culinary medicine today. She goes, I have chives. So many chives all over the place. What should I use them for? And I said, well, chives are part of the allium family. You put them onto your food. They're going to help to decongest your body. And she goes, I wake up congested all the time. I said, great, the chives are there for you. Right? So chives. And this is a book written by my favorite author, Andrea Beaman. She's one of those modest health people. Chives, member of the allium family, spicy, pungent flavor, rich in vitamin C, calcium, phosphorus, iron, and enzymes, right? So that spicy, pungent flavor traditionally is dispersive, right? It's dispersive. So if you're congested, right, especially now, we have respiratory illnesses coming in, right? This is the flu and cold time of year. Chives, onions, garlic, all of that helps to disperse, right? It's going to start to open up and decongest. So, like one of the traditional foods, and I'll talk about it. We'll get to it. I'll talk about it when we get to it. Cayenne pepper, stimulant, carminative, anti-catarrhal, helps to thin mucus. It's a natural silagogue, which means it increases saliva, which helps you digest food. Rubefacient, antimicrobial and antiseptic. It stimulates blood flow and helps tone the circulatory and digestive system. Increases blood to the extremities for people with cold hands and cold feet. Used to treat arthritis and carpal tunnel syndrome. And inhibits the growth of H. pylori bacteria. Right? So I had a neighbor, she was 88 years old. Her name was Connie. She lived next door to me. And I gave a cooking class. This was, I don't know, it's like 15 years ago, out of my house. And I was talking about cayenne pepper. And she says, I use cayenne pepper all the time in the wintertime. And then she told the class how she uses cayenne pepper. She says, I take my socks, and I put cayenne pepper into the socks, and then I put my socks on, and I go to sleep. Yes! It works 100%. As long as you don't have any open cuts on your foot, which would be traumatizing. It does. It's rubefacient, right? It helps to bring blood to the surface. That's what rubefacient means. It brings blood to the surface. So she was an older lady, 88 years old, and her hands and her feet always got cold. So she would put the cayenne pepper into her socks. And it worked like a charm. Who over there said that? You're a cutie pie. Who's got a cookie? I got to give you a cookie later. Right? So this, again, is a culinary kitchen herb. This is what's found in your kitchen. Okay, so we only have about 15 minutes left. Did you give me the cue? Oh, she's about to. It's a good thing I had that rosemary earlier. Otherwise, I'd just keep talking all afternoon. Garlic. Garlic. So this is the last one that I'm going to finish with because everybody knows about garlic. Right? We all know about garlic. Antimicrobial, antiviral, antifungal, naturally diaphoretic, hypocholesterolemic, if you could say that 10 times fast, it helps to lower blood cholesterol, hypotensive and antispasmodic. A couple of stories about garlic. I had a friend, Myron, who owned an Italian restaurant downtown in the city. Yeah, baby. I was just getting my groove on. So he owned an Italian restaurant down in the city, and it was a couple years I didn't see him. And then one day I saw him on the Upper East Side, and I'm like, Mike. It was Myron, but we called him Mike. And I'm like, Mike, and he's like, hey, how you doing? And I see he's got this huge scar down the center of his chest. And I'm like, what the heck happened? He was just coming from the hospital on First Avenue. He goes, well, I had a triple bypass surgery. I had all this clogged arteries and all this stuff. And he goes, yeah, you're into nutrition. He goes, well, tell me what I got to do. Really, he's a real Italian guy. So I said, okay, well, first thing you got to do is, broccoli with lots of sauteed garlic on it. And he goes, no, doctor just gave me a whole list of things that I can't eat. Garlic was number one. And because now he's on cholesterol-lowering medication. And garlic it lowers the cholesterol. So I understand that. I understand that for sure, but for him, it probably would have been better to have the broccoli rabe. We worked at, he owns an Italian restaurant. The broccoli rabe with garlic, and just stay away from the pastas until he starts to clear up some of the congestion in his heart, right? That would have been good. Fish, broccoli rabe, garlic, my gosh, lemon, thyme, put all that stuff on it, because he had access to so much medicine. In his restaurant, he had access to so much medicine. He also had a real big sweet tooth, which is one of the things that clogged his heart in the first place. It wasn't the garlic, right? It was the cakes and the tiramisus. Nobody ever wants to say that was the problem, right? So a thing that you could do right now as this season comes in, right? Because garlic is, again, antimicrobial, antiviral. So right now, human beings, we're fantastic. We love to share things with each other. And right now it's the time to share colds and flus. Right? So if you don't want to be in that sharing, receiving line, then up your garlic intake right now. Up your garlic intake. One of my favorite things is probably garlic mashed and put into anything. Anything and everything. Garlic toast. Garlic and extra garlic in your sauteed greens. Just garlic it up. Of course, like somebody had mentioned earlier, is it better dried? Is it better? With garlic, it's very, very strong when it's raw. Very strong, and some people can't take it. So if you can't take raw garlic, put it into the end of cooking. Don't cook it all the way, but cook it so it just loses some of that real strong bite. And there's another way you could do it. You could chop up the garlic. You could mix it with honey, and you could take it that way. That's more palatable. But that will help to keep those bugs at bay, right? Then you have to have the parsley with it. She's a smarty. Yes, because then, of course, garlic breath. So if you're in a relationship, you have to make sure that the other person is eating garlic as well. Because I don't want to come back next year to the Take Back Your Health and be like, I'm healthy as heck, but boy, I got a divorce. Right? So these are our herbs, right? Just 10 little herbs. And you can see that they have highly medicinal properties, but we have to start to use them. And you use them in higher quantities than you're using now. Don't just use a little sprinkle of rosemary. Do what the Italians do. Globs of rosemary into the food, right? Bunches of garlic into the food, right? Okay, so this is that's my other favorite author, Andrea Beaman, and Andrea Beaman. and I do have a handout for you guys. I think a lot of you got this already. The Culinary Herbs as Medicine. Why did you? Oh, you want that? Yeah, it's at my table. My my little sister's there. She'll give you an apple and a garlic and one of these. And of course, any questions that you have. So I think we have about 10 minutes. So I'll open up for questions. Oh, and I'll wait. Somebody's getting a mic or something like that? Or
Yeah, we're going to go ahead and take care of that microphone here. So why don't you go ahead and point them out, Andrea, and I'll bring the microphone to them.
Okay.
All right.
Hi there. Many of the herbs seem to have antimicrobial properties, and how does your gut bacteria fare if you're putting a lot into your food? Because I already cook pretty much with herbs, but not mega doses.
That's a great question. So one of the things that culinary herbs also have on them, if you don't wash them to death, is bacteria. So I was at a talk the other day, and there was a microbiologist there, and she was talking about all the bacteria that lives on the plants and how it changes all year round, right? So in the springtime, we have a certain type of bacteria, and in the summertime, we have a certain bacteria. So I've always heard from people, they're like, I wash my vegetables in apple cider vinegar, and I use this chlorine spray wash, right? Yeah, don't overwash the food that's going into your body because there is bacteria on it that helps to support us. So yes, there are antimicrobial properties, but there's also bacteria that's coming into the body. You know, it's like people are eating Damascus earth now because why? Bacteria. Yeah, it has bacteria, good bacteria. So it's one of the reasons why also pregnant women will generally crave mud and dirt. Right? They crave that because there's bacteria in the soil that we actually need in our bodies. So don't overwash your produce to death and squirt all those antimicrobial things on it. It's dangerous. And definitely cook with the herbs because the herbs, like I said, like I was talking about the oils earlier, the one constituent can be very damaging. But when you get the herb that comes with the fiber and the bacteria and the other constituents that make that plant, it's very nourishing. Completely different.
Oh, sorry. I just had a quick question. I know that we were talking about eating fresh herbs, and that's the way we're going to go. But if you don't have them and you're using dry herbs, what do you think? Is it better for you, or not as bad, not as good for you, or what?
Well, like I said earlier, yeah, the dried herbs, they have less of the volatile oils. They're still great. Still use them. But if you have herbs that have been, and I know people have this all the time, they have herbs that have been sitting on the top of their stove for about 4 years. They haven't used. They just sit there and they just dust them off every once in a while. If it's beyond a year and a half, those herbs are probably not good. And even after a year, open up your little herb bottle and you put the herb into the center of your palm and crush it. And if there's no aroma, then it's no good anymore, right?
Right there.
I was busy checking the time. Sorry.
Thank you. If you're doing fresh herbs and you're trying to put them in the refrigerator in one of those things that has water in the bottom to preserve them, A, is that good? And B, can you mix the kinds of herbs that you're combining together in that way?
Yeah,
and you're
sure.
very charming as well as smart. I love it.
Oh, thanks. I'm full of herbs. Yes, I think that's great. I mean, some of the herbs will last longer than others. Like cilantro is very, fragile. So that one in the water kind of goes bad. But the other ones, they could last for a long time in the fridge in the water. And I'll come over here. I think we have 2 minutes left. Because I also want to give you a special stretch for digestion. What? 8 minutes? Dougie Fresh, you're on. Okay. And they still have it.
Oh, sorry. So is there a herb for the skin that you recommend?
That's a great question. She said, and talk it now into.
Okay. So I have a lot of friends, and even my own daughter, who we take out gluten, we took out dairy. We're taking out one by one just to see. but we still have like the bumps and on the arms and sometimes on the legs.
That's
and
correct.
They don't, as they get older, they don't like them. So is there a herb that helps with that?
Yes. So one of the reasons why taking out the gluten, taking out the dairy, taking out this, taking out that, taking out the nuts and seeds, one of the reasons why it doesn't work in the long term is because you never healed the digestive system, right? So people will go on an elimination diet and they take out dairy and gluten and then they're like, I feel fantastic, or they feel great, woohoo! And then they're like, wait a minute, now I'm allergic to this thing. Wait, now I can't even have a grain and I can't have a seed, right? So you have to strengthen, tighten, and tone the digestive system. So one of the things, especially when you have like eczema coming up, it's showing that you're not absorbing proteins, right? Not digesting, not absorbing proteins on a deep level. So you want to tighten and tone the digestive system. So I know the gal before had recommended black walnut hull. And she recommended it for worms and parasites, but it's also a great toner, right, for the digestive system, as well as Oregon grapefruit, which is one of the berberines, right? So what's that going to do? It's actually going to get rid of the excess bacteria that you don't want in there, and it's going to start to nourish and tighten and tone, right? Because you could keep taking out all the foods in the world, and I see this all the time. Right? All they can eat is like one piece of rice and a lemon, you know? and you're just like, please, just go eat a cow and a pizza and all that stuff. But we have to make sure that this is toned, right? So a flaccid digestive system is not going to work, as well as when you take stuff out, you still have to tone this. So part of toning, and I'm going to do an exercise for you guys, part of toning is taking a daily walk every day. Right? So what does anybody know what walking does to the intestines? It stimulates peristaltic action. Right? So the great sages would say, you know, you got to walk at least 5 to 10 miles a day. Who's doing that? Right? Nobody. We get in our car, we go to the Whole Foods, we go to the next place, we get it back. that doesn't count. Right? So we actually have to walk on a daily basis. Walk. Stimulate peristaltic action, which is the muscle contraction in the intestine, to strengthen the digestive system. As well as, I would probably use stocks, right, for the collagen, very nourishing, and try some of those toning and tightening herbs. Right? So get with a good herbalist, or follow the directions on the thing. Don't take them for long term. Oregon grapefruit? No. Oh, yeah, about working on the digestive system? Yeah, totally. Yeah, healing, supporting, sitting down, chewing, right? Because if you take out all the foods in the world, but you're still rushing from this place to that place to that place, and you're not sitting down to relax, to eat, it doesn't really matter. So I'm going to finish with, okay, checking, she's my time girl. So I'm going to finish with black walnut hull. It's also great if you have an overgrowth of candida. It's one of my favorite antifungals. And black walnut hull. And by the way, you all know that candida is normal and healthy in a human body, right? Candida overgrowth that people are talking about, the reason why that happens is that the ileocecal valve has been damaged. So I talk about that actually in all my books because it's so important. When we eat out of season, so I'll give a quickie. You tell me when there's 2 minutes left, lady. Okay, so I'll give you a quickie. We're all eating the best foods that we think in the world, and we have access to everything all the time. But I'm living in the northeastern United States. So I'm up in New York, and in New York, in February, it can be, like 2 degrees, 10 degrees, but I have access to watermelon, I have access to bananas, I have access to leafy greens, I have access to all these summer foods. And what the summer foods do in a wintry environment is they start to break down the internal environment, weaken the valves. So candida, which normally thrives in the large intestine and helps you process the rest of your food so you can excrete it in a normal way, right? Once that valve gets damaged, that candida creeps back up into the small intestine and starts to digest all of your nutrients. It's one of the reasons why when people are suffering from candida overgrowth, they feel like they're dying. They literally feel like they're dying because the candida is eating everything. It's processing everything. You don't get access to anything. So you got to strengthen that valve, and the way that you strengthen that valve is to eat in alignment with the seasons. You get your internal environment in harmony with the external environment. It creates a balanced body. When you're out of balance, right, all the valves start to break down. But that's a whole nother lecture. Okay, right now I'm going to show you a quickie exercise to strengthen your digestive system. That means everybody's got to stand up. We're going to run around the room. Okay. Imagine. Okay, so has anybody ever seen an acupuncture chart? You have all these lines running up and down the body. So on the side of the head, right, this is gallbladder meridian running all along the side of the head. Mm-hmm. If somebody gets a headache when they're eating, generally it's because the gallbladder is not processing, or is stagnant, or it's been taken out, which is a lot of the cases. And then it runs down the side of the body all the way down to the feet. So the gallbladder and the liver have to be in good working order in order to process food, right? So we're just going to stretch it up, all the way up, palms up to the ceiling. Feel your feet connecting with the earth, right? And then we're just going to stretch over to the left. Is that a left? Stretch over, and you feel this opening up the whole side of the body. And then we're going to stretch over to the right. And again, feel that stretch all the way up. You should do this every morning, actually. And then we're going to come back this way. Stretch all the way up. And then turn to the person next to you and give them a hug. Come here. Like alone. Thank you. and then turn to the person on the other side and give them a hug.
Thank you. Same with you.
And that's the best way to improve digestion and get a standing ovation. Thank you, everybody, for coming out. And I'll be over at my little desk. Oh, if you guys want to connect, that's how you connect. Thank you.